Greetings, fellow Grimdark readers and listeners. I am your host, Mystery Centric, bringing you the best reaction videos to Grimdark fan fiction narrations and bony thread simulators that I can muster. And today we're going to be reacting to The Truth Be Told, all the parts of it. Now, the reason why I wanted to do this is because aside from it being Grimdark, I know next to nothing about the series. All I know is that I did see the trailer for it, and it was written by Obab Scribbler, so I'm just gonna put a warning right here. I do know Obab Scribbler's videos. This may contain blood, gore, and violence. Mild sexual themes, strong language, and may not be suitable for kids for people under the ages of 18 and 14. So, if you're not a big fan of Grimdark or are under the ages that I just mentioned, then you may now look away. Heck, I'll even give you a few seconds to click on something else. Are they gone? Okay. Are they gone? Oh, and by the way, this is completely out of context, but the reason why I didn't really record this yesterday is because I wasn't really up in the mood for recording this series, and so instead I just binged watched Star versus the Forces of Evil. And let me tell you, I'm in love with the show, and maybe I'll do a reaction I'll do a reaction series to that TV show on YouTube one day. Maybe. Don't count on it. But without any further delay, let's do this. The Lost Narrator presents Truth Be Told, the dramatic reading. Starring I Am Shadow 007, Emogak, Warrior Cat, and Cloudtail. Present Pitch Perfect, Princess Riley, Merry Melody, Goomba Brony, Gloria Rain and that guy, Catbug and PDK, Fallout Lutz and Flame and Lionheart. Whoa, a lot of people were involved in this. What? I can't even. Ooh, Reverb Brony. I do know he did the music for I Spoke to Miss Smarty Pants today. Truth be told.
Once upon a time, there was a wonderful land where animals talked and magic was real.
Of course, it's all gonna start off all cutesy-wootsy and stuff, and then it's gonna go immediately dark and scary. Kind of like Cupcakes.
Could do all sorts of magic and was very, very clever. One day, the beautiful princess who ruled the wonderful land sent this...
Oh, it is close. The image is closing in. Because whenever I look at a still image, I can't really tell if it's a still image, or a still image that's just there, or it's closing in. It's kind of like an optical illusion a little bit.
Working together, they defeated the evil, rescued the princess, and saved the day. Furthermore, the special unicorn realized that she had indeed made some friends, and that they were the most wonderful friends anybody could ever ask for.
And then bad things happen.
Pinkie didn't need an alarm clock. Her internal clock kept her up to date with when she had to be up and ready to face that day and have fun instead of lounging about like a sleepyhead. The life of a baker traditionally involved extremely early mornings. As an apprentice, Pinkie translated this into an even earlier start.
Yeah.
As she proceeded the cakes downstairs each day to have coffee waiting for them on the counter when they rarely stumbled in.
Okay, so far so good. It's kind of like the beginning of Cupcakes. I'm just anticipating when things are gonna go straight to Tartarus.
Same way. A bright and early worker was one who baked her landlord's worm, or something like that. Except, however, for this morning. This morning, there was no coffee on the counter when Mr. and Mrs. Cake stumbled in. There was no bright or
Oh, I
cheery
may have
smile
spoken
from
too
Mr.
soon.
No pony wagged sugar-pink hooves in Poundin' Pumpkin's face, or blew raspberries on their fat little bellies to make them giggle.
Pinky?
Cupcake tapped lightly on the bedroom door with a hoof. After a few moments,
Wait, who?
she eased it open and peered around the edge. Typical mess greeted her. Pinky, like most creative minds, arranged her life into organized chaos.
Oh,
that
here
no
we go
pony
with
but
one
she
image.
could understand.
Pinkie Pie?
The lump in the bed moved. Sunlight peeked through the curtains,
Ooh,
which hadn't been thrown back to greet the dawn. Cup bit her lower lip.
this
as
is a
she
really
turned.
good fan art right
Oh,
here.
dear.
Especially the hair. I
Around her,
really
she
like
ripped
the
away
hair,
her
but
debris.
I shouldn't be complimenting the art of
Sweetie,
this.
are you feeling okay?
The lump groaned.
Oh, dear, sweetie. Are you sick? Does your tummy feel achy?
Despite Pinky's
She probably
level
had a
of
nightmare
worry
of some
and
sort.
massive amounts of sweat,
Silent Ponyville.
even she had her limits.
I'll get to that one.
More than a few candy wrappers were scattered around, many of which had not been here the last time Cupcake crossed the threshold.
No.
The lump half turned towards her, then flopped back into place like a beached whale trying to struggle back into the ocean.
That. Pinky, dear, you're going to have to uncover your face so I can hear you.
Cup advanced on the window and pushed back the curtains to let in some light.
Wait, did,
My back hurts.
Pinky murmured as
Oh.
she extricated her head from her bedclothes.
And not like when my pinky sense is telling me the river's going to burst its banks. Just hurts.
also, why does the
She
story
tended
call
listen,
Mrs. Cake
totally about
Cupcake?
herself. Usually, Pinky was the last
I
pony
don't
to
really
get
know.
played by
I'm
anyone.
guessing that's Mrs.
She
Cake's
had
full
faced
name,
down
but I don't
tyrants,
know.
evil bug queens, wild manticores, hydras, and dragons,
Yep.
all with a smile more
Yep.
durable than concrete. The only thing Cupcake had ever seen affect her was when something threatened her friendships. Pinky valued her friends more than her own life.
Yeah.
Took tribulations to heart in a big way. It seemed preposterous that something like a sore back could rob her of the smile even Nightmare Moon couldn't snuff out. Cup laid a gentle hoof on Pinky's foreleg.
Piggy was completely oblivious when Nightmare Moon was around.
That might just be the blankets. Do you feel well enough to sit up? I think so. My joints are a bit squiggly, and a light makes my eyes twinge.
I can tell this is I Am Shadow 007, but then again, they could have gotten Pinky Rose, Magpie Pony, or any other Pinkie Pie voice actor that's well known for their Pinkie Pie voice.
She had assumed sore back meant something spinal.
But that's just me.
Evidently, she was wrong.
Turn onto your tummy, dear. Let me have a look. It could just be a rash.
Okay, I'm just making sure that the image isn't closing it. Isn't doing a close-up. I swear that it's an optical illusion to me.
Perhaps? Unless food had sugar on it, in it, or under it, Pinky wasn't interested. The only unsweetened thing she voluntarily ate were apples from Sweet Apple Acres,
Huh.
and that was more to do with pleasing Applejack than because she preferred them over cookies. Cupcake knew that while growing up, Pinky's life had lacked much sweetness in any form. It wasn't something that was talked about much, but she and Carrot knew that their apprentice's life had not been an especially happy one before she came to Ponyville.
We're only 6 minutes in.
When the bouncing pink pony first arrived on the doorstep of Sugar Cube Corner clutching an ad for a room for rent, the Cakes had tried to ask what prompted her to come to Ponyville. Pinky had mentioned a rock farm, something about rainbows and parties, and a fresh start.
Yeah.
But her answers had ranged from vague to so off topic it seemed until the next day, when the paperwork was already
Jeez, it's
signed,
windy out there.
that either of them realized she had never actually answered the question. At some point, the why had ceased to matter. Pinky was like that. She inserted herself into your life so completely that even those who didn't like her didn't want to be without her. Cup wasn't sure whether it had been herself or Carrot who had broached the idea of taking on an apprentice, or which of them had run the idea by Pinky as she clattered downstairs again on her way to look for a job. The who of it didn't matter either. What mattered was that the offer was made, and Pinky took up a place in Ponyville that seemed to have been custom designed for her. She fitted into the community so snugly that it shocked ponies when they learned that she wasn't originally from there.
Yeah,
Pinky turned awkwardly
I'm
onto
surprised
her
they didn't
stomach.
catch on
Cup
to
leaned
that
over her,
sooner.
pushing aside bedclothes and clouds of pink mane to get a better look. She sucked in a small, alarmed breath.
What? What is it?
Pinky asked. She tried to lever herself up, but Cup pressed her back down. I'm not sure. I think it might be a wart.
Warts?
Pinky didn't screech, but she gave a reasonable, albeit weak voice facsimile.
I have yucky warts on my back? Oh, yes, well, maybe one.
Cup paused.
A pretty big one. Maybe you have?
I've pretty
In
much
truth,
got nothing else to
it
say.
only
I'm
looked
just
a little
focusing on the
bit of
story.
wart she had ever seen. For one thing, warts usually pushed up in the bare skin between hairs, unlike the nubby little protrusion on Pinky's upper back. Cup prodded it experimentally. It
It's probably
reacted
in
like fur-covered jelly,
backwards.
quivering
I've
with
heard of those things.
Pinky wriggled.
I've had a wart once and it was on my toe.
Weird. Does it hurt?
And I got it off by
Little?
complete accident.
Pinky wriggled some more, hooves flexing as she desperately wanted to scratch the wart thing.
Mostly it just feels weird. I think perhaps I should call a doctor to make an appointment for you.
Cup backed towards the door, resolving to wash her hooves before heading downstairs where they kept the phone. Pinky pushed herself up on her forelegs so that her spine curved like a cat stretching after a nap. She looked like she was trying to work the kinks out, except that silhouetted against the window like that, Cupcake thought, the little lump looked even more noticeable.
So where are we moving on to next? Or are we still going to focus on Pinky?
Rainbow Dash yawned on her cloud, arching into a delicious stretch.
Okay, now on to
She
Rainbow
impatiently
Dash.
curled into a ball, grabbing a hoofful of white fluff, and tugged it over herself like a blanket. Earlier shifts were her least favorite part of Weather Patrol. While other ponies were still in bed,
Again, and
she
what
and her
is with
team were
these early
busting the
shifts?
sky in
First Pinky and
preparation
now
for the
Rainbow
day to
Dash?
come. It was especially bad in winter, when flashlights and reflective vests still didn't prevent the mid-air collisions in the dark. Autumn wasn't too bad, though, and in a few weeks, she would need to find her vest once more. Joy. Cloudkicker and Thunderlane had worked hard on planning paperwork this week, only finishing half an hour before the deadline the previous Friday. Their maps meticulously showed which clouds were meant to be left alone, which were to be cleared, and which needed buffing up for the light showers scheduled in 48 hours' time. Wingless ponies thought rain just happened. Pegasi dragged a few rain clouds across the sky and voila. But it was more complicated than that.
Yeah, it was more
Rain clouds
complicated.
did occur
Of
naturally,
course, it
yes,
can't be that
but
easy.
more often than not, they had to be made. Regular clouds were selected, pushed into the correct place, seeded, and then left to gather moisture. You couldn't station them too high, or the air was too thick and dry. Push them too low, and they were likely to get busted by accident. Being in charge of the weather patterns meant long-term planning and precision, not just lazing around all day and sometimes kicking a cumulus, as Rainbow suspected her friends sometimes thought.
Well, except Twilight.
When Twilight first realized she would be staying in Ponyville, she tried to learn all she could about her friends' careers so that they had something to talk about. Unpracticed in friendship and terrified that their only connection would be fighting Nightmare Moon, she had crammed her head with as much knowledge on apple farming, weather control, baking, animal care, and dressmaking as possible. She had even skipped sleep and meals, until Spike told her friends his worries about what she was up to.
Egghead.
Rainbow Dash thought, an affectionate smile turning up her lips. A dark flicker at the edge of her vision made her eyes open fully, what looked like a shadow shifting on the neighboring clouds, though there was nothing up this high to cast it.
What was that?
She rubbed her tired eyes, but didn't see it again. Curious, she relinquished her ersatz blanket and flew over for a better look. The cloud was one selected for rain, freshly seeded, and part of the last batch she had stationed up here. At the moment it was still pure white, though over the next 2 days it would darken and thicken as it saturated with water. She was peering at it when some pony tapped her shoulder.
Dash?
She spun in place, hooves raised.
Whoa! It's me!
Oh,
Blossomforth held up her own
oh,
hooves defensively.
Blossomforth.
Rainbow Dash dropped her combative stance, rolling her shoulders as if shrugging off her alarm at some pony sneaking up on her. Not many flyers were adapted enough to shrug and hover exactly in place at the same time.
Seems like Rainbow Dash is
It was
doing
a
pretty
small
well.
demonstration of her prowess that gave her the chance to gather and reassure herself that she wasn't slipping.
You've been taking ninja lessons, Blossom!
Blossomforth wrinkled her nose at the nickname.
Is that Lost
but then
Narrator or is
cried.
that someone else? Because if that's not, then really lost. You can do. I think at this time you could do your Rainbow Dash impression pretty well.
Rainbow Dash went through her mental Rolodex of who was rostered to be on the morning shift with her today. The weather team typically
that
divided
mic
up
quality,
into
though.
pairs of rain cloud seating.
And they're hurt?
Blossomforth covered her wince well. Maybe someday she could actually fool someone.
They're just finishing up.
Excuse me.
Suspicion treaded through Rainbow Dash.
Define finishing up. They
Blossomforth sighed.
they still have half their quota to see.
Rainbow Dash rolled her eyes, just when she was ready for a nap too. Although
Would you help me help them?
Blossomforth pursed her lips.
I'll sign that vacation form you gave me. You said you were going to do that anyway. Well, yeah. But I'll do it today. Instead of procrastinating?
Blossomforth raised an eyebrow.
And then giving it back to me at the last second, too late for me to book a good hotel in time? Yeah.
Blossomforth lifted her goggles off her forehead and snapped them over her eyes. She almost managed to look like it didn't hurt. Her constant efforts to look cool in front of her boss were endearing in their own goofy way.
Let's go.
As the two Pegasi flew away,
Now the thing is moving.
To the cloud. They bumped into each other, crisscrossing, and knocking a few of their numbers into the sky before they wriggled through
it's
the
a dark
empty air
cloud.
to get back to the rest. After a few moments of hectic movement, they faded away, until it was as if they had never been there at all.
Something's coming.
Dr. Horse scratched his chin and surveyed his patient. He tilted his head so far to the left that it was almost horizontal, and then abruptly snapped it to the right to do the same. The pony on the stool before him squirmed so much she practically vibrated.
Please sit still.
He muttered.
Oh,
for
now I
a
can see the ward
time.
on Piggy's back.
Doodle.
At first I thought it was a
She
bone,
moved.
but
Her
then
swelling
I
receded to
thought,
mere
oh,
manic
she's got a
fidgeting.
wart.
So, what do you think,
Also,
Doc?
what is up with this
Can I
dude's
ever
haircut?
see her again?
What?
He shook his head against the ridiculous question.
I'd like to run a few tests.
Just not math. I'm awful at math. All those numbers in my brain go squidge. I'm pretty good at history, though. Want me to tell you how Equestria was made?
No, not that kind of test.
He said.
Why does this guy
politely.
sound like Discord,
He was
though?
growing more irritated by the second, partly because this patient was so exacerbating, but also because he couldn't immediately identify her ailment. It didn't quite meet the criteria for a wart, which irked him. The chills and aching joints she had complained of weren't typical of warts either. He preferred a quick-fire diagnosis that knocked queues in his waiting room down to manageable size. His mood was irreversibly proportional to the number of occupied seats outside his door. The more complicated the case, the less he liked it. While his contemporaries wished for a break in the monotony of runny noses, coughs, horn rot, and wing sprain, he longed for the days of nothing but easy diagnosed tendon. This annoying pink pony presented a conundrum. A conundrum meant spending more time than he wanted to on her.
Oh, crap.
So, is it a wart? Mrs. King said it might be a wart, but warts are icky, sticky, ugly.
I apologize, that was my dad's phone.
It's not a wart.
Dr. Horse said flatly.
It might be a boil. I could lance it if you want.
A boil?
She craned over her shoulder, her expression melodramatically horrified.
Boils are even ickier than warts.
A boil is nothing more than an overgrown pimple. They're often caused by infected hair follicles or ingrowing fur. Bacteria from the infection forms a pocket of pus.
He sighed.
Ugh.
The consistency of this lump indicates that it is filled with liquid, which is most likely pus.
Ugh.
If this is the case, lancing it here in a sterilized environment will prevent further infection. And I can put you on a course of antibiotics straight away to prevent any further infection.
which would solve the problem immediately and send her away faster than a hoof to the posterior. Except there were those other symptoms that she complained of that didn't tally up with a simple boil.
Will it hurt?
She asked, such a minor tremor to her voice that he missed it completely.
I'm not a fan of hurty things. Even worse if it's the hurty squirty thing.
I think I remember
You may
the
feel
she
it.
asked
I'll
part
numb
from,
the area first.
oh,
then
excuse
cut a
me,
small opening
the,
at the top so that the pus can
from
drain.
the
Afterwards,
bloopers.
you
I didn't know that was from this
He considered
story.
his options.
I think I'll put some gauze in the cut so it stays open and keeps draining until it's completely clear.
Seriously,
You
this
feel
guy
it
sounds
anyway.
like
She
Discord.
nibbled her lower lip.
Well, I guess
I'm watching you.
doctor.
She brightened.
Do I get a lollipop at the end if I'm a good little filly?
His instant reaction was to say no, but he stopped himself. Sighing, he nodded.
Yes, you may have a lollipop at the end.
Oh,
His movements were quick and
picky.
efficient.
Always
She
begging
leaned
for
forward on the
treats.
stool
Oh,
as he took a
oh
tiny
god.
scalpel out of the protective plastic packet, designed to make sure everything stayed sterile in the event that he needed
Well,
to
the
use
way
it.
my
He
wart
swabbed the
came
incision
off
with the
was
enchanted
I was
salve
walking
to numb
around
the area more
willy
thoroughly
nilly
than
and
any antiseptic
I guess
produced
the
by
wart hit
medical
something and it
science.
fell off, and I didn't
Though
even
he
feel,
wasn't
and
Earthling,
surprisingly,
Dr. Horse held
it didn't
both
hurt.
regular medicine
Like
and
seriously,
meta
I
magic
didn't
in
even,
heaps of
I
his teeth.
legit didn't
For a
even
moment,
know the
he
wart was
considered
off.
shaving the portion of the patient's back, but then
I
discarded
guess
the
my
idea
mom
as
weakened it
redundant.
to the point where
Gauze
if
him up.
it got
He
off, then it
set
wouldn't
about
hurt.
lancing the, for want of a better word, boil.
Ooh, oh god, that hurts.
Then she screamed. She
It's
screamed
hurt.
so
It
loud
hurts, but
and at such a high
all
pitch
gonna be
that
worth
his
it
forelock
in the
drooped
end.
involuntarily. The tip of the scalpel dug
Ugh.
deeper. Not a gouge,
Ugh.
but certainly a wider
I know it's
incision
the
than
wart,
he
but
intended.
yeah.
She screamed like
I
he
think
had
I
tried
haven't
to reach through the
as
back
much
of her
since
ribcage
Something Sweet to
and cut
Bite.
out a lung.
Which then
His
again, this
eardrum
is kind of like
follicles were
Something Sweet to
vibrating.
Bite in
Perplexedly,
multiple
he
parts.
withdrew the blade, anticipating an explosion of pus. Instead, a trickle of blood ran down her back.
Huh.
It was thick and
Didn't
so
expect
dark,
that.
it appeared
Or not
black in the harsh
inspect.
overhead lighting.
Expect. Yeah, let's see it today.
But you said it wouldn't hurt much.
Her breath came in short,
That's what
rapid
they all
bursts.
say. Before.
It shouldn't. I numbed the area.
The salve was the best on the market, produced internally
Man,
by
the
the
back of my
foremost
neck
research
itches right
unicorn
now.
at the Royal University. There
That's the
was
thing
no
with me.
way
Whenever
she
I
could
get
feel
anxious,
anything through its effects.
like my head
No
starts to
way.
itch. I have no idea why.
She moaned.
Like burning.
Dr. Horse made a snap decision, putting his scalpel down and snatching up a wad of cotton padding he had prepared for afterwards. He pressed it against the cut to stem the flow of blood. Then he thrusted the gauze already
Thank
in
goodness
its
he's
hoof
gonna
on
put
top
a
of it.
bandage on it.
This he bound down with several strips of
Just
medical
like all
tape,
warts.
compressing the steam-white wad to form a plug. The patient groaned. Despite her obvious pain, she reached behind with one forehoof and tried to prise off the wad.
Too tight.
She whimpered.
It needs to be tight.
He said briskly. This was not what he had expected. The fact that the lump was so sensitive even through the enchanted salve was startling. Past his irritable desire for speedy consultations, the revelation made him stop and reconsider. This was beyond his ken. He needed
Ugh.
a second opinion.
Miss,
He glanced at her notes.
Miss Pye, I'm going to write you a letter recommending that you see my colleague at Ponyville General Hospital.
Hospital?
She said weakly, still puffing in the waves of pain.
After this, I'm
emanating
gonna
from
take
her
a
back.
short break because I'm not gonna watch this whole thing in one video.
Loath as he
I need to
was
take a
admit
break
it,
every now and again
Dr. Horse shook his head.
I don't think it is a boil.
to just let
Regular boils didn't
to let
spill
what
out
I've
black
just
blood
seen
or
process in my
resist
mind.
anesthetizing salve. In his
I
experience,
swear to God, every
the
time I
only
see
thing that could
these full
resist
screen
med
still
magic
images, I
were
feel like
also
they're
magical in
closing in
order. He
or
gritted his
doing a
teeth.
close up.
In
I
organ
swear
science,
that
I'm
it
not
feels like an
competitive.
optical illusion.
Therefore, I'd like
I'm
you to
not
see my
joking.
He trotted to his desk and scrawled out something only another doctor would be able to read.
Take this. Go straight there. I'll telephone through to let them know you're coming.
Yeah.
So soon?
She stared at the paper he gave her.
Applejack always has to wait ages and ages and ages and ages and ages and ages for hospital appointments when her hips hurt from apple bucking so much. She says the equestrian health service moves slower than molasses running down a tree in midwinter.
Well, how eloquent of her.
Dr. Horse resisted the urge to say something acerbic. He had been warned about his bedside manner, and fought to make himself appear reassuring and
Ugh.
pleasant to even his most annoying patients.
So straight there?
Clarified the pink mare, whose name he had already forgotten. Hadn't she come with some heavy
Already?
supply? Couldn't you run back to her now instead of cluttering up his office? He nodded. Maybe Stable would be able to give more insight into her condition.
Straight there.
Straight as an arrow there?
Yeah.
Straight as a crow flies there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Straight as a poker there?
Okay, we get it, Picky.
Straight as...
Yes.
We get it.
Dr. Horse
We get it.
interrupted.
Straight there now.
He added, in case she was unclear. She puffed out one more pained breath and hopped off the stool.
Okie dokie loki.
Oh, no, don't bounce.
The last syllable became a shriek. Her forelegs collapsed under her as she clearly fought against the fresh wave of pain.
Oh, gosh. I thought going to the doctor was meant to make you feel better.
She gave a feeble giggle.
Or is this opposite day? And so everything has to be opposite? On opposite day, you're
Nah, not really. Sometimes in the hospital, when you go to the hospital, it either still hurts or it's gone.
Trying to
Or in
down
this
all
case,
four
and
hooves.
we're in the latter. It's in the still hurt category.
and talk backwards.
Dr. Horse surveyed her. Never mind backwards. She was clearly walking nowhere. He pressed the intercom on his desk.
Violet, can you send for an ambulance carriage, please?
Thank you, doctor. Man, I really need to take a break after this.
Cupcake
Because
pressed
I
the
need
paper
to
her
let
ear.
this part process in my mind.
Yes, the doctor is seeing her right now. The paramedics were
Oh.
very kind to let me drive with her, even though I'm not technically family.
Which in itself
They both
begged
are on
the
the
question.
phones.
Where was her family? Cup realized with a jolt that if anything bad happened to Pinky, neither she
I mean, I
nor
wouldn't
Carrot
mind
had
if
any way of letting
if
them know.
Mr. Cake or Mrs. Cake
Are you
was
doing okay?
either one of them were
Carrot
on the phones,
asked,
but
his voice laced with concern.
Oh,
I just can't help
Broken
but
from her
laugh at the
thoughts,
fact that
she
they're
smiled
on
into
two
the
phones
receiver.
at the exact same time.
I'm fine then.
Warmth suffused her when the ambulance carriage turned up at the doctor's and Pinky was whisked away inside on a stretcher. Cuphead begged the ponies pulling it to let her ride along. There hadn't been time to let her husband know what had been going on until now, and she found her waning confidence bolstered merely by the sound of his voice.
How are the twins?
Oh, fine, fine.
He said absently,
Oh,
I'm
they're
more concerned
calling
about
to
you
check up
and Violet
on
right now.
Well, I'm
Pumpkin
really
and Pound Cake. I
so
forgot their
don't
names
worry
there for a
about me.
second. I'm guessing
She
Mr. Cake is checking up on Pinky.
Pinky,
another hesitation.
Jeez.
sweetheart, what's wrong with her?
Cup sighed.
She's
I
got a
don't
ward.
know yet. When she went to Dr. Horse's office, she was, well, you saw us leave this morning. She wasn't up to her usual pinkiness, but she was still cheerful and she could walk by herself.
She can't walk?
Panic wove through Carrot's tone. It was almost unbelievable how important Pinky had become to them, both in the few short years they had known her. Briefly, Cup wondered whether all mentors felt that way with their apprentices, or all landlords about their tenants. Probably not. So many things about Pinky were unique. Why not something like this too?
It jars her back too much. Dr. Horse tried to lance the warty ball thingy, and apparently he made it worse.
And so he hooked her off to some pony else.
Now, dear, don't be so cynical.
Carrot let out a short breath.
Are you going to call her friends, or do you want me to do it? They'll want to know. You know how close they all are.
Yeah.
Yes, I know.
Cup glanced at the long corridor behind her.
Would you mind doing it? I think I'd like to be with Pinky while the doctor looks her over. Not that I don't trust Dr. Stable, but, well, I trust Dr. Horse, too.
Now who's being cynical? Sure thing, Sweetums. I'll take care of it.
She smiled.
Do you know how much I love you?
Not as much as I love you.
Carrot Blue kissed down the phone. After over a decade of
Okay.
marriage, he could still make her blush, even long distance.
Take care, Sweetums. Call
Oh,
me
that was
the minute you
Mr.
know
Cake. I
what's going on,
didn't
okay?
know.
I will.
I thought they were in the
She
exact same room.
promised and hung up the phone. The bits she had inserted into the slot clattered through its insides. For a moment, she stared at the thing. Despite her words, she was unwilling to turn around and go back into the little consultation room where Pinky awaited the doctor's verdict. She had a sudden bad feeling and didn't think it was just because she had missed her morning coffee.
Same here. Oh man. And so that was Truth Be Told, Part 1. And this here, and I'm gonna take a break for a short break before I go to the second part. But so far, I'm definitely interested on where this is gonna go. I mean, with the name like Truth Be Told, I expected this to be a lot like the My Little Pony theory, remember your fanfictions, Jared, where it explains the main six versions of the main six in the human world, but bad things have happened to them in the human world. I thought this was gonna be a blatant ripoff of that story, but apparently not. It's I can't words today. It's actually really, really different, and I'm guessing it's gonna be go as well. Uh, something really bad is probably gonna happen to each members of the main six. At least that's what I'm guessing on the first part. But I have no idea where this is gonna go. But so far, I'm really liking this story. So, and hopefully I'll see you guys in part 2 in a little while. I just need to let this part process through my brain. Stay smiling. Nah, wrong intro. I hope you all enjoyed that Grimdark fanfiction as much as I did, and as always, keep on reading. I need to figure out an outro, but I'm just gonna say that. Keep on reading.